Thank you, everyone. I apologize for the late start. What's that? I hereby open the executive session on House Bill 102 and recognize Representative Saborin Dishonnet to make a motion of retain.
A motion that we retain this bill. Chairman Roy.
And Representative Lascelles, did you wish to say?
I will second the motion to retain.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion, Representative?
As written, this bill needs more work. We like the idea behind it, but it needs more work to actually see how it would be acted upon in real life.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your second, Representative?
No, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is to retain.
Vice Chair Rhodes? Yes. Representative Lascelles?
Yes.
Representative DeVoid?
Yes.
Representative DeSimone?
Yes.
Representative Paquette?
Yes.
Representative Saborn Deschwanier?
Yes.
Representative Summers?
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright?
Yes.
Representative Muse?
Yes.
Representative Newman?
Yes.
Representative Murphy?
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Chairman Roy?
Chair votes yes.
13-0.
13-0, the bill is retained. Thanks. Um, 190. I open the executive session on House Bill 190 and recognize Representative Lascelles to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move ought to pass on HB 190 FN.
Seconded by Representative Harriet Gathright. Would you like to speak to your motion, Representative?
No, that's fine.
Okay, Representative Harriet Gathright, would you just like to speak to your second?
No.
Okay. Well, it's cannabis. I don't think we need to say any more than that. Motion is ought to pass. I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice Chair Rhodes?
Yes.
Representative Lascelles?
Yes.
Representative DeVoid?
Yes.
Representative DeSimone?
Yes.
Representative Paquette?
Yes.
Representative Saborn Deschwanier?
Yes.
Representative Summers?
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright? Representative Muse?
Yes.
Representative Newman?
Yes.
Representative Murphy?
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Shear?
Yes.
Chairman Roy?
Gerald, yes.
14-0.
14-0, motion carries. Any objection to consent? It'll go on consent. I hereby close the public hearing on House Bill 190. Excuse me, the executive. Okay, we're just going to be on a break for a few minutes while we pass out an amendment for the upcoming next bill and give everyone a few minutes to digest it. I am opening the executive session on House Bill 191, and I am going to recognize myself for an amendment introduction. And I am introducing amendment number 0756H,
Second.
seconded by Representative Rhodes. And I'm going to recognize myself to speak to my amendment. So we heard the testimony on this bill, and it was all about abortion. And while I may personally agree with the sponsor, we had a commitment to our constituents that we were going to leave the abortion laws the way they were. However, during the testimony, it occurred to me that, frankly, adults shouldn't be taking other people's children without their written permission for surgical procedures, any surgical procedure at all, which is the impetus for the amendment that I brought. Now, I know some people still have concerns with the part where it says that notarized written permission. And the reason for that, in my mind, is because, well, it's twofold. One, you can't bring a successful prosecution in that case without proving the person knew the signature was false, if it was a false signature. And, you know, kids forging notes goes way back to Epstein's mom. If anyone remembers that, I probably dated myself to Welcome Back, Kotter. But I feel like it'll be very difficult to prosecute someone for that if it's not notarized. And second of all, any surgical procedure is scheduled well in advance. Some of us know it could be months. And that's plenty of time to get to a notary if you're going to have someone take your child for a surgical procedure. Notaries nowadays, I mean, you can go into any bank. They're in there for free if you're a customer. They're all over the place. We have several in this building. They're everywhere. So I feel like that wasn't that big of an impediment. And so that's the reason for my bringing this amendment. Would you like to speak to your second?
Chairman, thank you. I just would like to make a brief comment because you brought up about notary. And I think that there is some confusion, but exactly like you said, the notary isn't necessarily signing something to say that they agree or disagree with what you're asking them to notarize. They're signing it to acknowledge that the person that is signing is indeed who they said that they are. And they're also, they don't have to have anything to do with anybody's medical records. They, again, are just certifying that this is indeed that person.
Yeah, thank you. That's an important point, that they don't generally even read the document other than to look at what the nature of it is and who's signing it. They're more concerned with the identity and verification of the person signing. Further discussion. Yes, Representative Newell.
I thought it would be helpful just on that note, because I have been a notary. I am no longer a notary, and possibly things have changed. This is also in a different state. But as part of my record keeping, I needed to keep a copy of the license of anybody that I was verifying their identity, and also whatever they were signing. So there is an element of needing to keep what you're actually having them sign. So that does get retained, at least as far as I
don't recall that. I've never seen that. That's a matter of fact. I just had a pretty significant legal thing, and I'd have been very upset if they told me they were keeping copies of it. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, still being a notary, have never kept a copy of a document, because that's personal information. Some people do, and that's fine. However, if you look at the oath that you are supposed to make the person who is signing it take, the oath says, do you solemnly swear that the document you are signing is known to you, it is true to the best of your knowledge, and you sign it of your own free will, act, and deed? And that is when the notary would sign the document. If that person says no to any of the previous questions, it behooves, but it doesn't force the notary to say, okay, I'm not signing this. But I've been a notary for 30 odd years. I personally have chosen not to keep any of that information because it's private.
Yeah, I think that I don't think there's a statute either way. So I think that if a certain notary wants to and the person agrees to let them, because they can always say, well, no, then I'll go to another notary. But I would also point out that the document we're talking about isn't anyone's medical records. It just says, Joe Smith, give permission to Steve Smith to take my child to an appointment at this place. It doesn't have to have any particulars other than what they're doing. Yes, Representative Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple comments. One, I wanted to share my experience recently trying to get something notarized. I do communications and marketing, and on Facebook, you have to get verify your identity if you want to do advertising around certain subjects. And it took me hours to, one, find a notary. UPS tells you, oh, there's a notary here. I go to the UPS store. There's no notary. I go somewhere else. Oh, the notary is out for the day. Then I go somewhere else. Finally, the third place I went, I could get the thing notarized. I had to wait in line. It took hours. And I'm not a parent with young children or who works during the day and is trying to balance work and childcare. And I think that this could present a significant barrier that's also going to disproportionately impact low-income families who I think I've paid up to $40 for a notary before occasionally. Those kind of expenses do add up. And I also have questions just around like how this is actually enforceable. Is there someone in the hospital who's checking that the person who's bringing the kid, has this piece of paper signed saying that they have permission to bring the child there? Just not really sure how that is actually enforceable in any way.
Thank you. I would say that it would be enforceable after the fact type of a thing. For example, if you found someone took your child and you went to the police and said, this person took my child for a surgery and I never gave them permission to do that, that would where this would become in advance. There's no gatekeepers keeping people from medical appointments. It's more of, this is something you're not allowed to do. If you break this law, you could be charged. With regard to the notary, I would point everyone to www.onenotary.com. It's one of literally hundreds of online notaries across the country that you can go on, and within, I would say it took me 15 minutes to get something notarized, and it was $25 a document. So, and it's getting more competitive all the time. So I would say that while I understand your concern, I would suggest you open your aperture and look online. There's notaries everywhere. And furthermore, if you're going to go to a surgery, like I said, I would think that you've got plenty of time in advance when you know when it's going to happen, because we all know as healthcare is today, you're not getting a surgery anytime soon if you need one. Representative, you can hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last year, I tried to take two of my grandchildren to get their ears pierced. The person that was doing it, I handed her a notarized signature of my daughter and son-in-law, along with a copy of the children's birth certificates, and they said, we still can't do it because in another state, we need separate notarized letters from each of the parents separately, not both. So in other states, my point of this is in other states, that is what they're requiring in order. Now that's just an ear piercing. They're requiring two signatures, two separate parents notarized in order to do even a simple procedure like that. So that's why I like this.
Who knew that ear piercing was so contentious? You wanted to respond, Representative Murray? I see.
Well, that's actually helpful to know, because one of the things I was wondering is if we have something like this regarding anything else, like in statute, like other, to take a kid on vacation, do you need a notarized, so that's what I was curious if there are other places in statute where we have something similar to this. But the enforcement piece is just kind of what makes this feel like it doesn't make sense to me, because if there's not a way to like stop it up front, then what really is the point of this, other than, like you're saying, after the fact, but after the kids had a surgery, now you're going, you know what I mean? It just doesn't really like make sense to me. But
I guess my only response to that would be, under that theory, then we should probably get rid of the murder statute, because you can't charge anybody with it until after someone's dead. Representative Scheer.
Well, I'm tempted to respond to the chair's baffling comment about the murder statute, but I'm not going to. Given that there's a private right of action, you know, it doesn't matter whether the written consent that was given to the doctor's office was notarized or not. The private right of action is still going to stand. It doesn't make it any harder to prove that a misdemeanor occurred if the document provided to the doctor was notarized or not. In the limited number of cases where somebody's actually going to forge their parent's signature, I don't think it's going to be that hard to prove that that's what's happened, and that the fact that it is notarized or not isn't really going to make a difference. So I in that vein, I also share Representative Murray's concern about, people of less economic means, both parents are working, or, a single parent has two jobs. In theory, it's easy for me, easy for the chair to find a notary. It's a total pain in the neck for somebody who's living their life out straight. And so I would be supportive of this bill if the word notarized wasn't in it, to be honest with you.
What, if any, response do you have to the online notaries that are available 24/7?
Yeah, I don't know how many people are aware of that. If this isn't going to happen, but if we did a great advertising campaign that the online notary service was available, but I just think it's a requirement that doesn't get you that much more to have it worth having it there.
Further discussion? Representative Means.
Yeah, one of the problems that I have with the amendment is it takes a bill that was vague to start with and makes it even more vague. I think the bill that came before us originally was very clearly an anti-abortion bill, and what this amendment does is it disguises that. I think that I think one of the things that I'm concerned about is just the chilling effect that a law like this in the books could have with people who find themselves in this situation. I think one of the biggest issues is, for a lot of folks is who do you trust? And unfortunately, there are some situations where the parents aren't the people that the young person, for one reason or another, decides to trust. And I think criminalizing behavior of folks who try to help people in that situation is something that we should avoid doing.
Thank you. Seeing no further, I would ask the clerk to call the roll. This is on the motion to adopt the amendment.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Devoid,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Saborn Duchenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harriet Gathright,
No.
Representative Muse,
No.
Representative Newman,
No.
Representative Murphy.
No.
The clerk votes no. Representative Newell,
No.
Representative Shear,
No.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
9-7.
Motion carries 9-7. The motion is adopted. I recognize myself to make a motion of ought to pass as amended. Seconded by Representative Rhodes. Further discussion? I'll recognize myself to make a motion, to speak to my motion. I hear all the concerns, and I could go either way on the notary part, but I feel like I'd rather start there. It's like I said, it's not difficult to get something notarized nowadays. You can literally do it in 10 minutes without even getting dressed. But I also understand that there could be some people unaware of that, as many of us here today apparently were. Representative Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What Representative Muse was just saying reminded me of one of my concerns with the bill being around it not including other family members. I'm the oldest of five. I've taken many of my younger siblings to medical appointments, particularly when one of my sisters was actively going through cancer treatment. And I was bringing her down to Boston 2 to 3 times a week because my parents were working during the day to get her treatments. And to add an additional burden in a case like that of going and getting, would I have had to get a notary every single time? I know that that case is, was not surgical, at least not every single time I brought her down. But I just think that there are a lot of families that have people that are helping taking care of the kids, grandparents. There's a lot of mixed families in our state, and I do think that this will make it harder for them as well to get medical care.
Thank you. Anything further? Seeing none, I would ask clerk to call the roll. The motion is ought to pass with amendment.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Devoyd,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Saborn Duchenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harriet Gathright, no. Representative Muse,
No.
Representative Newman,
No.
Representative Murphy.
No.
The clerk votes no. Representative Newell,
No.
Representative Shear,
No.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
9-7.
9-7, motion carries. Bill is adopted. If you are going to be doing a minority report, if I could ask you please to have it to me by tomorrow, if you could. By the end of the day tomorrow, they have to be in Wednesday morning. So that gives you something to do during the session tomorrow. And with that, I close the executive session. I'm going to jump a little bit out of order. I'm going to open the executive session on House Bill 198. And I recognize, actually, I was going to ask if anyone wanted to make a motion on this one. Do you? Okay. I recognize Representative Murray to make a motion.
I make a motion of ought to pass on HB 198.
Second.
Absolutely. I think, we've, as a body, have passed bills legalizing cannabis again and again. The people of New Hampshire have made it clear that they would like us to legalize cannabis. I think this bill is a common sense compromise, not getting into the weeds, shall we say, with dealing with the retail aspect of selling cannabis, but simply focusing on legalizing it while ensuring that individuals out in public aren't going to be exposed to cannabis without their consent. So I think that this is a good common sense compromise bill and that we should pass it out of committee.
Thank you. Representative Shear, would you like to speak to your second?
I support what Representative Murray said.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none? Oh, wait a minute. Representative Prue, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion is ought to pass on House Bill 198.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
No.
Representative Prue,
You can vote however you want.
No.
Representative Lascelles,
No.
Representative Devoyd,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
No.
Representative Paquette,
No.
Representative Saborn Duchenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
No.
Representative Harry Gathright,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Newman,
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell,
Yes.
Representative Shear,
Yes.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes no.
9-7.
Passes.
Mhm.
Motion carries 9-7. Again, same thing on the reports, please, if we could by tomorrow. Thank you. And who made that motion? You did? Okay. All right, let me see. I open the executive session on House Bill 206. I recognize Representative Lascelles to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move ought to pass on SB 206 FN.
I second that. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I just think it's time that we take this step. It's understood that we need to have more discipline in the schools for this sort of thing. So I think it's time that we take the step to outlaw the use of cell phones.
Representative, you might be on the wrong bill.
Is 206?
This is, you're looking at,
I'm sorry.
you're in the Senate. If you recall. But
Sorry.
would you like to speak to your motion on this bill, though? I like that one.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, this is the police entry onto no trespassing land.
Yeah, I apologize, Mr. Chairman, if you could go to someone else on this.
I'll speak to my second. This bill would require law enforcement to get a search warrant to enter onto your private property where your private property is posted no trespassing. Currently, there is a rule at the Supreme Court level. It's called the Open Fields Doctrine, whereby if property that you own that your house sits on but is not part of the curtilage, which is defined as the area right around your house that you regularly use, the law enforcement doesn't require a search warrant to go on that property. So, for example, I own 6 acres. The area right outside my property has got some woods, got a shooting range. Theoretically, the law enforcement could walk on there and look around anytime they wanted to. I don't post it, so I don't care. But if someone went to the extent that they wanted it posted and they didn't want people on there, I feel like law enforcement needs to respect that the way that other citizens have to respect no trespassing signs. Now, we did hear from our law enforcement, and to their credit, they said it's their policy currently to get a search warrant already if the land is posted no trespassing. And I commend them for that. Seeing that they're already doing it anyway, I don't see a problem with putting it into statute, just so that we understand, and if there is a case where they don't get one, they can't fall back on the open fields doctrine. Further discussion. Representative Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was trying to go back in my notes to see exactly which agency had testified, but I think what's hard with this is the broad applicability for across agencies that wouldn't be getting search warrants. So I know that there was one agency and then municipal officials that also came and testified concerning that this bill would interfere with their ability to do tasks such as surveying land, and that they don't have the ability to, it's not in their practice to go requesting search warrants. So I think if this one had a more limited scope specifically to law enforcement, it would maybe be more amenable to passing. But as written, they had concerns that it would interfere with their ability to complete their responsibilities.
Thank you. It's my recollection that we had this bill last year and we passed it. And this year's version, I thought limited that considerably back from the broadness that was there, just because of the concerns that were voiced by some. I would, however, say that it doesn't apply. Most of the things that any municipality would have to do are part of the building and the house. There's no reason for them to go into the woods behind someone's house. Surveyors are generally hired by the homeowner. I don't know that a survey is ever done for tax purposes because they already had the plats, but yeah, go ahead, Representative Murray.
Thank you, Chairman. I found the notes. It was the Department of Transportation, and they do land surveys, when they're doing projects around highways and that sort, bridges, that sort of thing. The bill only has an exception for fish and game authorities. So they, from the Department of Transportation, had said that they would appreciate an explicit exception for their department as well. The New Hampshire Chiefs of Police had also said that they were concerned with it preventing law enforcement from delivering civil notices or chasing a runaway that might go onto private property, and oppose the bill as well. And then, the Municipal Association didn't take a strong position, but said that the definition of government agent would include municipal agents, and that they would be subject to the same processes, but again, don't have the same access to requesting a search warrant that law enforcement would have.
Thank you. Again, my only response would be that this would only require a search warrant from someone who is going to search their property. And the results of this, there's no penalty other than whatever they find would be inadmissible. So, for example, the power people who were doing a survey, nothing would happen to them if they went 20 feet onto someone's property. Other than the fact, I would say that currently, if it's posted no trespassing, I don't think that they can go on that property anyway without talking to the owner first. So it's really, I think we're arguing about how many angels could dance on the head of a pin. Further discussion. Representative Scher.
I share Representative Murray's concerns, and also being a constitutional law nerd, I share an additional concern. Paragraph 2, lines 18 through 23 carve out exceptions, and 2 exceptions to the law, and those are 2 of the, well, a very brief lesson about search warrants. There are a number of search warrant exceptions, and 2 of them are consent, covered by paragraph Roman numeral 2A. Another one is exigent circumstances, covered by paragraph B2B. But there are other search warrant exceptions that, by the way this is written, don't function as exceptions by statute. So what we're doing is amending federal constitutional and state constitutional law to only validate 2 search warrant exceptions rather than any other search warrant exceptions. I don't think that was probably intentional on the part of the drafters, who probably weren't aware of the other exceptions, but that's a problem. The second problem is the way the exigent circumstances exception is written suggests that all you need is exigent circumstances. You don't also need probable cause. And I think that's a drafting problem, but constitutionally, even if you have exigent circumstances, you still need probable cause. I think that was a drafting mistake. I don't think that was intended. So those are my problems.
Thank you. Further discussion. Representative Muse.
I think one of the things that we heard repeatedly during the public hearing was that the folks who are actually responsible for administering and enforcing the law have problems with this bill. The Merrimack County Attorney had a problem with it. David Goldstein from the Chiefs of Police Association, their chair of their legislative committee, opposed the bill. And one of the reasons he opposed the bill is because he believes it may impact the timely service of protective orders. I think part of the issue we run into sometimes on bills like this, which I classify as a bill in search of a problem, thanks to a national organization that's been trying to get it passed in New Hampshire for several years now. Where are the cases? Where were the people complaining to our committee that they had been, somehow offended because we didn't have a law like this, or how their privacy wasn't being protected? We didn't hear from them. What we heard from were law enforcement people and a county attorney who were basically telling us that this bill has problems. And, when you combine it with the fact that literally nobody showed up other than the sponsor to actually argue for why the bill was necessary, and we had a bunch of very creditable people lined up to tell us why the bill is not necessary, I think that's a pretty compelling reason for us not to pass this bill.
Thank you. Further discussion. I would just say that with regard to the service of process or any other reason someone would legitimately want to be on someone's property, the way to serve process is to walk to their front door and knock. If you have to serve process in the woods behind their house, there's some questions about that. This bill does nothing to stop anyone from going on someone's property and going to their door. This is strictly about people's property, not around the curtilage of their home. So with that, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is ought to pass.
Vice Chair Rhodes?
Yes.
Representative Prue?
I'm going to go no.
Representative Lascelles?
Yes.
Representative DeVoid?
Yes.
Representative DeSimone?
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Saborn Duchenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright,
No.
Representative Muse,
No.
Representative Newman,
No.
Representative Murphy.
No.
The clerk votes no. Representative Newell,
No.
Representative Shear,
No.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
8-8.
8-8, motion fails. And the bill is open to further motions. Make it.
I move an expedient to legislate.
An expedient to legislate by Representative Muse and seconded by Representative Harry Gathright. I think we heard everything about why everybody doesn't want it. Yeah, well, after this one fails, yeah. I'd ask clerk to call the roll. Motion is inexpedient to legislate.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
No.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative Lascelles,
No.
Representative Devoid,
No.
Representative DeSimone,
No.
Representative Paquette,
No.
Representative Saborn Duchenier,
No.
Representative Summers,
No.
Representative Harry Gathright,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Newman,
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell,
Yes.
Representative Shear,
Yes.
Chairman Roy,
The chair votes no.
8-8.
8-8, that motion fails as well. I recognize Representative Rhodes to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to retain House Bill 206.
Second. I'd ask clerk to call the roll. The motion is now to retain.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Devoid,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Saborn Duchenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright,
No.
Representative Muse,
No.
Representative Newman,
No.
Representative Murphy.
No.
The clerk votes no. Representative Newell,
No.
Representative Shear,
Yes.
Chairman
No, excuse me.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
9-7.
9-7, the motion carries. The bill is retained. Um, That I open the executive session on House Bill 226 and recognize Representative Paquette to make a motion.
I think that I ought to pass.
What?
Wait.
No, I said 226.
I didn't understand him either.
I vote ITL on this bill. When I asked a lot of questions.
Okay, you just make the motion first.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Second.
Seconded by Representative Rhodes. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes. Thank you. I just still had some concerns because I asked a lot of questions for this one and they were unable to clarify the who's, the what's, the where's are going to be carrying this equipment. And that's pretty concerning for me.
Representative Rhodes, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that this bill brings a lot of emotion, and respectfully, I believe I understand the intent of the bill sponsor. And the problem that I had with a similar bill that we passed last year was the amount of substance that is allowed to be carried on a person. And this year, I understand that they're changing some terminology because, you know, terminology is constantly changing. But there were several concerns that were brought up. One was if if this illegal substance is taken and it is found that it is, tainted, then what happens to it? That was an unanswered question. Additionally, I remember there was testimony from my colleague from Portsmouth, and he was very passionate, and he said that, he's confident that one of the reasons that, that overdose deaths are going down is because we've taken an all of the above approach. However, nothing in this bill does anything about helping people with substance abuse. To me, it is very enabling, and I do not like the idea of just a small amount that is left up to interpretation, and I would like to see some kind of an effect to help these people instead of just making it easier. And additionally, as far as the all or above approach, we are ignoring the fact of the people that are actually pushing and peddling these substances onto our parents, onto our children, and they're dying. So until we're going to hold the people accountable that are peddling the drugs, I'm not going to continue to vote to allow it to happen.
Thank you. Representative Newell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize, I wasn't up to speed. We skipped one. But I do actually have an amendment for this bill. I handed it.
I'll recognize you to introduce an amendment that will end up probably being like the minority amendment, and it'll go to the floor.
Okay. And the point was a little bit of a drafting error on my part, I'm sure, is to take out the nominal amount. But what we did with this bill, just to refresh everybody's memory, because we did actually pass this bill out of committee last year, and we passed it through the full House last year, and it died in the Senate. But we passed this bill. So I think it's interesting that we're rehashing, and especially considering we passed a similar version of this bill, but it was a bill that allowed for more than this does. So we explicitly went and spoke with interested parties and folks who may have had some concerns with the first one. And so we went and we said, all right, we couldn't get this past the Senate. How do we actually make this a passable bill? And so what we have before us with the amendment, of course, is the kind of, streamlined, really taking it down to its heart. And so explicitly what this does is that it allows for organizations, harm reduction organizations and public health organizations that are registered with the Department of Health and Human Services. So not just anybody, these things are not just for everybody. This is for organizations that we explicitly entrust with matters of harm reduction. We're not talking about penalties here, because this just isn't, that those aren't going to be registered with DHH. This is looking at it from a different way. So when we say in all of the above approach, we're not going to have all of the above approaches in one bill. This is a bill that speaks to one thing that is missing from our system that would help us, that would expand our capacity to be able to understand what substances are on our streets as quickly as possible, so that we can respond effectively and immediately, so that we can be nimble and address the issue as it comes. So I just wanted to make sure that that's said, because really we put a lot of work into making sure that this was a passable bill, in addressing the concerns that folks had last year. So I really hope, and yes, it is emotional. I do really hope that we take a second thought, and think about passing this again in a,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further discussion? A representative here at Guthrie.
I'm just a little surprised, just as the sponsor is. If we could save one life, this bill would be worth it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Muse.
So one of the biggest concerns from last year was the inclusion of a nominal amount. So it was the idea that somebody who is, let's say, testing a pill for the presence of fentanyl would be able to have some small amount of that drug for use of testing, and they wouldn't be prosecuted for having that. What we've done this year with Representative Newell's amendment is that's removed. So it won't be legal to have any quantity of a controlled substance under this bill. What the bill does, though, is it offers the same level of protection for people in those public health agencies and people who are actually engaged in testing these drugs that we currently confer to people who work in labs who test therapeutic cannabis. If you take a look at our therapeutic cannabis statute, one of the things that's actually right in there is an exemption for those folks from being prosecuted for possession of controlled substances while they're actually doing this type of lab testing. So there's precedent for what we're doing, and I think there's a real need for this bill. And I'd be the first to tell you, I don't want to take any tools away from law enforcement when it comes to enforcing our drug laws. But what I absolutely would like to do is put more tools into the hands of people with the potential for saving their lives. I mean, I think one of the things that has been proven over the years with technologies like fentanyl test strips is that not everybody uses them, but people do use them. And when people use them, they really can make a difference and they can save lives. And it's great to take a hard line, but I think the hard line ends when it's your kid, And I mean, if you had a child who was in that situation, a kid who was off at college for the first time and had fallen in with some people you would have rather them not to fall in with, would you want them to have the presence of mind to use something like this before they consume the drug? And the answer to me will be yes. My preference is never that they use the drug, but if they're going to do it, damn it, make sure it's not going to kill you. And that's what we're accomplishing with this bill.
Thank you. Further discussion. I would say that, speaking for myself, I'm not sure what happened with the bill last year. I thought we actually passed it. I don't recall if I voted for it or not. I thought that it became law, or some version of it did in the last session. Having said that, I've done some research myself, and I with regard to trying to find out what kind of dangerous drugs are in the system, well, we already have someone doing that, and they're the police. When they arrest someone and they have drugs on them, they are sent to a lab and they are tested, because you can't charge somebody without proving that the substance they had is a controlled substance. So the police, generally speaking, know what drugs are on our streets, and they make it quite known that you need to watch out. This drug is out there, that drug is out there, and as they try to interdict these drugs. I don't think that this will add anything to what they're already doing, other than allowing people to take their own supply of drugs to go be tested. I just, frankly, I can't envision a situation where someone who's purchased some fentanyl or some heroin is going to travel about to a place to have it tested before they use it. Generally speaking, it goes pretty quickly into their system. So while I 100% support the emotion and the thoughts behind trying to save people this way, I would say that it's redundant. We're already paying law enforcement to check on the supply of illegal drugs, and I really wish we would spend as much effort to try and get rid of these drugs off our streets totally than somehow giving tacit approval of their use by allowing people to have them checked. I'd ask clerk to call the roll. The motion on the floor is inexpedient to legislate.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Devoid,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Saborn Deschenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harriet Gathright,
No.
Representative Muse,
No.
Representative Newman,
No.
Representative Murphy.
No.
The clerk votes no. Representative Newell,
No.
Representative Shear,
No.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
9-7.
9-7. It's my understanding there'll be a minority motion amendment being submitted with the minority report. Is that correct? Okay. And with that, yeah, I learned about that myself. It's new. With that, I close the executive session, and we are going to take how much time do you need? I'm going to open the executive session on House Bill 321, and I recognize Representative Rhodes to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move amendment 2025-0347H was given out last week, and I believe there was extra copies over on that table if anybody is looking around for it.
Second.
0347H.
I second.
Would you like to speak to your motion?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this bill, when it was brought to us, it was one that I think we all actually really liked. And the intention from the sponsor was to say, look, I'm trying to pay the fine that, that I received for making the speed limit be maybe more of a suggestion. But sometimes people just need more time to do that. So, what he did was during, while he was testifying, there were questions as far as, making it be, the initial 30 days and then asking like for 2 extensions and so forth. So what this amendment is doing is basically replace all for the bill. It is giving the person the opportunity to make their plea either in person or online. And it gives them from the initial start 90 days to pay the fine. And then if the 90 days comes and goes and they've made their good faith and they need an additional time, this allows the DMV to come up with a set of rules to allow for an additional 90 days to pay their fine. I would just like to say, as an example, if it's Christmas time and a person's an hourly employee, there's probably a good chance they're not going to be working for maybe 4 or 5 days, for that whole entire holiday season. And this would just give somebody the opportunity to not be in more trouble when they're trying to correct what they did.
Thank you. Who made the second? Representative Scheer, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, briefly. I worked with Representative Vea, the prime sponsor on this bill, on the underlying bill. And the idea as captured by Representative Rhodes is, there's people who have less significant means to manage things like fines and we just want to create a little more looseness in the joints so that we're not sending them off to court and suspending their license and doing all the things that come with failures to pay fines. So it's just opening the window a little bit broader, and I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Representative Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate this bill and the amendment for sure. I maybe 8 years ago now, when I was in my early 20s, got a speeding fine that was over $200, and I absolutely learned my lesson. I never sped that fast again. But at the time, I barely made over $300 a week. And that fine, I basically, had a month of eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because I had to pay almost a week's pay for this fine in that 30-day period. So I appreciate that we're passing this hopefully out of committee, OTPA, and that other people won't be in the same situation in the future.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion is to adopt the amendment.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative LaSalle,
Yes.
Representative Devoid,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Sabourin Deschrenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Newman,
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell,
Yes.
Representative Scheer,
Yes.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
17-0.
17-0, the motion carries. Would you like to make another motion?
Chairman, I move lots of passes amended for House Bill 321.
Further discussion, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think we covered it.
Anyone else? See none, and ask the clerk to call the roll. Motion is ought to pass with amendment.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Prue,
Yes.
Representative LaSalle,
Yes.
Representative Devoid,
Yes.
Representative DeSimone,
Yes.
Representative Paquette,
Yes.
Representative Sabourin Deschrenier,
Yes.
Representative Summers,
Yes.
Representative Harriet Gathright,
Yes.
Representative Muse,
Yes.
Representative Newman,
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell,
Yes.
Representative Scheer,
Yes.
Chairman Roy,
Chair votes yes.
16-0.
16-0. Any objection to consent? Seeing none, it will go on consent. I close the executive session. With that, I open the executive session on House Bill 343, and I recognize Representative Murray to make a motion.
Could I actually go upstairs and grab the printed amendment for this? It's
We're-
printed already.
Okay, we're going to take a 30-minute recess.
Yeah, but was it 17 or what do we got? 19?
Ally has,
16.
I believe Ally has an amendment.
Yeah, but it was 16.
Why, are you adding fake members to this
Yeah,
committee?
I just was like,
Huh?
no, 9 and 7, 16. All right, I gotta go down and just see. I want to go OLS and
30 minutes.
yeah, I just want to go see if I can get. I'm gonna go down and check. We've got nothing yet. I keep checking.
Did you, where it says about, do you want
Yeah, I said yes. Yeah. I keep checking and they said they need a minimum of an hour. After you submit it by email, they reject it.
Okay, I'm going to open the executive session on House Bill 194 and recognize Representative Rhodes to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to retain House Bill 194.
A second. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. Although I left my notes in our office in there, I understand. Well, let me rephrase that. I heard the frustration. There are many people that testified about child custody, and I don't see that the way that particular bill was written, that the concerns that that people have are going to be addressed in that bill. The way it was written, that things were very, very vague. A lot of things left a lot open for interpretation, and it left a lot open for who would be responsible for what when it came to the enforcement of how it was written. So I think the best thing to do is retain it, let the sponsors come back, let some of the stakeholders come back and see how they can make it actually be a workable bill.
Thank you. I'll speak to my second. I think the foundation of the bill is a good bill. I think that it needs to be clarified, narrowed, distilled so that there's no ambiguity or as little as possible. And because the law exists already and it is criminal, it just seems that what we heard from the testimony was people had a really difficult time getting law enforcement to take action on it, and therefore it wasn't helpful. Also, I want the sponsors to take into account that violating an order already is potentially criminal by virtue of contempt of court, should the court choose to do so. So I don't see necessarily that we need to increase any penalties. I think we just need to make sure that law enforcement is aware of their ability to enforce this and indeed obligation in some cases. So I support the retaining the bill. Further discussion. Representative Muse.
I would say that this is probably a bill that is less in our strike zone than some of the other ones that have come before us. And I would say more time to actually, consider some of the implications and some of the potential unintended consequences, including potentially penalizing an overprotective parent with a criminal conviction. I think those are things that we need to really pay close attention to.
Yeah, I agree. I'm always very uncomfortable when 99% of a law belongs in another committee, but yet 1% sticks it with us, and it's not really our. I believe one of the strengths of character we show is when we admit it's not our expertise. So that's important. That all those issues that are also being addressed by the appropriate committee right now in another bill that touches on this a little bit right now. So I think that's more appropriate. Representative Scher.
And my concern with the bill has always been, I just don't want to get criminal. I don't want the police to show up at a scene when a parent, a divorced parent, drops their child off 2 hours after they were supposed to. And I can see in the very emotional circumstance, the other parent calling the police because of that. It's just, child custody arrangements are messy enough as it is to have, the aggrieved parent calling the police at every turn is just, it's not a good place to go.
No, I think the problem that really this bill is trying to address is actually the backlogs in our courts is really what the problem is because the appropriate venue to have this discussion would be in front of the judge on the existing order. But the fact that it takes them months to get in there, by that time, there's 50 other things that have happened. So I think the problem that we're eventually going to have to face and deal with is the pressure on our courts and the availability of judges to actually hand out justice. Seeing no further discussion, I would ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion is to retain.
Vice Chair Rhodes?
Yes.
Representative Prue?
Yes.
Representative Lascelles?
Yes.
Representative Devoyd?
Yes.
Representative DeSimone?
Yes.
Representative Paquette?
Yes.
Representative Saborn Deschrenier?
Yes.
Representative Summers?
Yes.
Representative Harriet Gathright?
Yes.
Representative Muse?
Yes.
Representative Newman?
Yes.
Representative Murphy?
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell?
Yes.
Representative Shear?
Yes.
Chairman Roy?
Chair votes yes.
16-0.
16-0, the bill is retained. With that, I open up the executive session on House Bill 343 and recognize Representative Murray to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ought to pass an adoption of Amendment 0499H.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Absolutely. Thank you. The amendment I'm bringing forward was made after looking over the last report we got on the Northern Border Alliance. And most of this is information that's already included in the report, is mainly codifying it into statute. And then it is requiring additional information be reported specifically around the customs and border protection related incidents, and also around the individuals who are being otherwise engaged with through this program where they live. The intention for that is, if you look at the last report, I said all the numbers when I was introducing the bill, but essentially out of the hundreds of people that have had interactions with the law enforcement through the Northern Border Alliance program, only 4 were cited as border-related incidents. So the hope is, with getting more of this information, we can determine, one, like how effective this program is and what its intended purpose is supposed to be, and if there are better ways for us to support law enforcement up by the border, whether it's through this program or not. But basically, we need the information to make adequate decisions around funding and how we support law enforcement up by the border.
Thank you. I will speak to my second, and I will say that as a supporter of the Northern Border Alliance, I think that we should make all information available. We just passed a bill recently regarding the federal activities in the state, and we wanted to know their information. I see this is no different. I don't see any problem with producing the evidence that a program is either successful or, as you said, unsuccessful, and if it needs to be modified. So I think that this is a good bill, and there's no problem with producing this information. I went to the border this summer. I went up there and took a tour and met some of the fine troopers who were working on this. And I also talked to members of the public in the area as I went around and walked around, and some of the walking was out in the middle of the woods. And the public, I found no one who was not supportive of this, because of the fact that they are, many of them who live up there on that border, they do feel that Concord in a way has kind of forgotten them up there. They were appreciative of the higher level of police presence in the area. And they really liked the idea that they were not alone up there. And the federal people we had on the border were just not enough, and this was a force multiplier for them. So I'd be interested to see the information that comes back from it as well. I'd also say, on the report that we already got, I wonder if that just reflects what our law enforcement did versus what the federal government did. I'd like to see the difference between that. In other words, are our law enforcement helping on those, but it's not being captured because it's on the other one? So I'm interested to know. So I think it's a good bill. Further conversation, discussion. Seeing none, I'd ask clerk to call the roll. The motion is to adopt the amendment.
Vice Chair Rhodes?
Yes.
Representative Prue?
Yes.
Representative LaSalle's?
Yes.
Representative Devoyd?
Yes.
Representative DeSimone?
Yes.
Representative Paquette?
Yes.
Representative Sabor Duchenier?
Yes.
Representative Summers?
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright? Representative Muse?
Yes.
Representative Newman?
Yes.
Representative Murphy?
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell?
Yes.
Representative Shear?
Yes.
Chairman Roy?
Chair votes yes.
16-0.
16-0, the amendment is adopted. I recognize Representative Murray to make another motion.
Make a motion of ought to pass as amended.
Made and seconded. Further discussion? Want to speak to your motion, or are we all set? Okay. I'd ask clerk to call the roll. The motion is ought to pass an amendment.
Vice Chair Rhodes?
Yes.
Representative Prue?
Yes.
Representative LaSalle's?
Yes.
Representative Devoyd?
Yes.
Representative DeSimone?
Yes.
Representative Paquette?
Yes.
Representative Sabor Duchenier?
Yes.
Representative Summers?
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright? Representative Muse?
Yes.
Representative Newman?
Yes.
Representative Murphy?
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell?
Yes.
Representative Shear?
Yes.
Chairman Roy?
Chair votes yes.
16-0.
16-0, the motion carries. Any objection to consent? Seeing none, it will go on consent, and I hereby close the executive session. I believe that's all of our business for today. Oh, no? Oh, we got one more.
I think I need
Okay, we're going to take a short 5 minutes. Yeah, I know. I was trying to leave. I couldn't. All right.
He was hoping nobody would notice.
Yeah, too many people noticed. We're going to take 5 minutes while they talk about, I think what it is I forgot that we were out of order.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm opening executive session on House Bill 330. And I recognize myself for a motion. I move that we retain House Bill 330. Seconded by Representative Rhodes. Speak to my motion. This bill seeks to deal with the problem of restricting the information that's obtained off our driver's licenses and retained by private businesses or other people. While I 100% support the idea that we heard during testimony at the hearing from numerous private companies and organizations that this would cause a lot of problem as written, and that's certainly not what we're looking to do. So I want to retain it and take a second look at it, and maybe if there's something we can do about it, we'll do it again in the fall. Would you like to speak to your second?
No, thank you.
Anyone discussion on this? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion is to retain House Bill 330.
Vice Chair Rhodes.
Yes.
Representative Prue.
Yes.
Representative Lascelles.
Yes.
Representative Devoyd.
Yes.
Representative DeSimone.
Yes.
Representative Paquette.
Yes.
Representative Saborn Deschwanier.
Yes.
Representative Summers.
Yes.
Representative Harry Gathright.
Yes.
Representative Muse.
Yes.
Representative Newman.
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative Newell.
Yes.
Representative Shear.
Yes.
Chairman Roy.
Chair votes yes.
16-0.
16-0, House Bill 330 is retained. I open the executive, wait a minute, first I close the executive session. I open the executive session on House Bill 146 and recognize myself to introduce amendment number 0591H that has been passed out to everyone. You second? Seconded by Representative Rhodes. I'll speak to my motion. Okay, so we heard from the sponsor what the bill was trying to do. The bill is trying to, he had a constituent who got a motor vehicle citation. He appealed it as he should to the courts. But part of his appeal that he wanted to make the argument to the court was that the officer was in some way inappropriate with him. And he sought to use the body cam and introduce it as evidence in his defense. By the time it got around, the department had erased it as per their normal procedures for when it goes beyond a certain date. So the bill as introduced sought to put certain dates and it got complicated. And then we figured out that the easiest way to do this would just add to the existing body cam statute where it already says they have to hold on to body cam footage for pending criminal cases or valid court or administrative order, etc., or we just added or violation level offense. So if there's a citation, they've got to hold on to it until it's disposed of. And if the person pays it and if the time period goes by where the person hasn't appealed the citation, then they can destroy it. So it's pretty simple. Further discussion, questions, comments? Representative Scheer.
A question. So
It says section 1, but then the amendment ends in and. So it's clearly not the full section.
It has a section B and a C.
So let me express why I asked that question. My problem with this bill has been the 5-day requirement, and I don't. If this replaces A but doesn't replace C, I still have the same problem.
What I'm going to do, I'll recess this for another day this week if I can, if he says it's okay to Friday, and I'll fix whatever they did on this and check on that.
Great, thank
Are
you.
we good to do that? Okay, so I'm going to recess this until Friday. We'll take it up then with a better document that doesn't end with the word "and." And with that, we have House Bill. I have to open House Bill 218 relative to police reports, and I'm going to recess that to Friday because we're waiting for an OLS fix on that as well. And with that, we're done for the day.